The de-escalation of war which is happening, and the Israel and Iran conflicts, which is disruption of the supply chain of the fuels, disruption of the global market, and it will be further disrupted because the different types of emerging challenges which is happening in the Middle East, and the disruption which takes place, the defining of escalations, de-escalations, and its emerging of the challenges, which is the different conflicts and its emerging prosperity. But the different core and its prosperity for their institutionalization, and its challenges for their working and its capacity, it is the remittance challenges which is emerging, and the facing of the conflicts between the Iran and Israel. However, this is the process and its inclusivity which is challenges and its emerging process, and it is the dynamic exclusions, it is the prosperity and having for their challenges, the challenges of emerging and its disruptions, balance which emerging and its challenges, which is the deficiency of their transformation, and its ecosystem, which is the facing of different ecosystems, which is finding and its prosperity institutionalization, the gracefully responsibility hidden and its inclusivity for their different regulatory and transformation for their inclusivity in different core and institutionalization. What the challenges of emerging, like the field disruptions, different challenges like the trade deficiency and its inflation also takes place, recessions and the layoff of throughout the company. But the challenges which is not be perennials, it will be temporary, and facing of this type of challenges like the COVID-19, when people have different types of interruptions and disruptions which is taking place. But in spite of it will be further solve the problems, and the world is going through the work basis for the peace and prosperity which is taking place. It is hoping the challenges of the cooperative advantage and the scope of the escalations, which is different fragmentation and challenges for their emerging, the different disruptions and the nuclear disruption which have their functional and its associated in the finding and its challenges for their defining a structural, which is the cooperative advantage and its institutionalization for their regulatory and its inclusivity for their different challenges for their emerging, and it's basically for their supply chain and it's working for their systematic advantage. How to challenges of the working and its capacity for their neutralization, and it's working for their strengthening ecosystem and its circulation and its capacity for the requirement, thinking about the further challenges and its disruption takes place. It is hoping and it's beginning for their implementation working takes place, and it's growing for their different challenges which are the hidden of the transformation, gracefully responsibility, and it's inculcate for the transformation, and it's determine the process of working, and it's facilitates for the different challenges and its emerging going throughout the world. Disruption takes place now in the present, the Iran and its escalation, de-escalation, which is not happening properly, but Iran is invasions Israel's, and the disruption also takes place, the global trade also facing lots of challenges like the proper way of not a supply of fuels, cutting edge of different age of the requirement and needs, and all the factory and industrials which also facing the disruption of these types of Middle East tensions, the emerging of the conflicts and its escalation emerging for their different waking for the neutralization and its occupancy and transformation, the challenges and its emerging which is facing and its escalation, de-escalation, working capacity, involvement in disrupted for their involvement and its participation of working for their involvement and its escalation of working capacity. the requirement and thinking about their process and its requirement for their facilities and its a proper neutralization and its a growing for their different association for their fielding and its finding for their neutral efficiency. It is the gracefully responsibility for their gracefully resource and it's a influential structural finding for their gracefully responsibility and hidden for their transformation, which is the gracefully redefining and structural for their resources. It is the working for the capacity and its requirement for their functional and its association for the different ministerial reforms and its gradually support for the civilian working capacity and its facilitates for the defining a structural in its different role and its regulatory transformation. The growth in its orientation requirement facilitates and its prosperity for the different distinguished and transformation for their efficiency. The role in its gracefully responsibility and its challenges for their working capacity for their requirement and thinking about their growth and its orientational for their requirement challenges for their different scope and its facility for their different balance and support for their aligned facility. It is the working for their defining and structural involvement and its participation, working and its supplementary for their challenges, capacity requirement and thinking about their gracefully responsibility, the capacity of the requirement and thinking about the gracefully responsibility involvement of different management and its scarcity of work, thinking about the growth and its objectivity of work and its further facing the circumstances management of super advantage and its working for their deterministic way and challenges. It is the defining escalation of work and its proper involvement in the participation, working and its supplementary involvement and its gracefully responsibility. The hidden of the transformation and its scope and its balance for their capacity requirement. It is try to involvement in different participation in its working for their supplementary and challenges for their working capacity, neutralization and its involvement for their gracefully and its responsibility for their participation, which is eventually a transformation for their requirement and thinking about the core values and its ideologically phenomena, which is the core values and institutionalization for their prosperity and its gracefully responsibility hidden for their transformation and its role in its regulatory efficiency for their occupancy of the transformation, which is the core values and institutionalization and its reformation for their supplementary and its growth orientation. How to neutral efficiency and challenges for their deficiency of the transformation, the growth and its orientation for their scoping and its balance for their regulatory and its gracefully responsibility, which is the partially differentiation, its working and its institutionalization for their growing and its influential a structural process for their regulatory and transformation, and how to neutral efficiency, the process of work and its gracefully how to transformations of fuels in different and individual household, the government responsibility to proper management in this scenario which is facing in the world, and India is also facing the disruption of fuels. So the people will just be more patience about the requirement of fuels, and they will be also faithful for the government working capacity, the proper neutral and its efficiency integration of work and its supplementary procurement supply chains and its instruction which is facilitated for their supply and its gradually responsibility, how to the transformation and its reformalization and its process for their capacity requirement. It is the process and its a gracefully responsibility, the transformation and its capacity for their requirement and thinking about their proper neutralization, and it is the working and its a facility for their supplementary and its a gracefully responsibility and its a hidden for their transformation and its a reformation of the socialization and its working capacity for their requirement. It is just try to involvement the procedures and its working for their facility and supplementary for their different distinguish of the transformation and its way and its balance for their capacity and its requirement and its involvement for their participation, which is the different distinguishing transformation for their requirement, and its growing and its challenges for their capacity. The requirement and its thoughts about different growing and its challenges for their capacity, and its balance for their regulatory and its proper neutralization, how to neutral efficiency, and it's a gracefully responsibility, and it's a proper neutralization, and it's a effective for their transformation, weighing challenges for their capacity requirement, and thinking about the scope, and it's working for their neutral efficiency. And it is the basically the supply chain disruption when the Israel invasion Iran, and the different fuel disruption which is happening right now. Government is also working for the providing fuel and LPG for the different household. The different growing and it's influential for their structure, which is supplementary and it's through for their requirement and its prosperity.